Class 8, Science, Chapter 2, Microorganisms, Friends and Foe, Animated Science. Introduction. Hello friends, I am Might E. Microbe. I have come from the fascinating world of microbes. I am here to tell you about my wonderful friends, the microbes. I will tell you about the types of microbes, about the useful microbes, and about the harmful microbes too. So let's begin with this chapter. Let me tell you what exactly are microbes. Living organisms invisible to the naked eye are called microorganisms or microbes. Microorganisms are very tiny living things. Some microbes can be seen with the help of a magnifying glass, while others are visible only under a microscope. Some microorganisms are harmless, while some others can cause dangerous diseases. And you need not be scared of my microbe friends because 95% of the microbes are not harmful. Let's talk about the types of microbes present around us. Classification of microorganisms. Microorganisms are classified into four major groups: bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae, and virus. Let's learn about each group. Bacteria. Bacteria are single-celled living microorganisms that get nutrients from surrounding environment in order to live. Some bacteria have been found to live in temperatures well below the freezing point, and others can live in temperatures above the boiling point. They come in three different shapes: cocci or round, bacilli or rod-shaped, or spirilla or spiral-shaped. Virus. The viruses are very tiny single-celled microorganisms which can be seen only with the help of an electron microscope. They grow and reproduce only inside the cells of the host organism, which may be bacterium, plant, or animal. They cause infectious diseases in humans, plants, and animals. Fungi. They range from tiny single-celled organisms invisible to the naked eye to some of the largest living multicellular organisms. They obtain food by absorbing nutrients from an external source. Thousands of different types of fungi grow on and absorb food from substances such as soil, wood, decaying organic matter, or living plants and other organisms. Fungi mostly live in colonies. They may be single-celled, such as yeast, used in bread, or multicellular, such as bread molds, mushrooms, penicillium, aspergillus, and toadstools. Algae. Algae vary greatly in size and grow in many diverse habitats. Some algae are single-celled and some are multicellular. Like plants, most algae use the energy of sunlight to make their own food through a process called photosynthesis. However, algae lack the roots, leaves, and other structures typical of true plants. Types of algae: single-celled Chlamydomonas, filamentous Spirogyra, large multicellular algae found in seas, colonial, many algae arranged in a circle. Protozoa. Protozoa are single-celled organisms. They may be harmful and cause disease like malaria and sleeping sickness, or they may be useful in the treatment of sewage, where they eat harmful bacteria, making it safe for disposal. Do you know where do these microorganisms live? Well, let's find out. Where do microorganisms live? Microorganisms are all around us, in the air, in our bodies, and in water. You may be surprised to know that with every breath you take, you inhale or exhale hundreds of microorganisms. They can enter our body through air, food, and the water we take in. They can survive under all types of environment, ranging from ice-cold climate to hot springs, and deserts to marshy lands. Some microorganisms grow on other organisms, while others exist freely. Microorganisms like amoeba live alone, while fungi and bacteria may live in colonies. Microorganisms play an important role in our lives. Some of them are beneficial in many ways, whereas some others are harmful and cause diseases. First, let's learn about the friendly microorganisms which are helpful to us in one way or the other. Friendly microorganisms. domestic use at home. The bacterium Lactobacillus promotes the formation of curd. It multiplies in milk and converts it into curd. Lactic acid bacteria are used in the making of cheese, pickles, and many other food items. Yeast is used in the preparation of bread, pastries, cake, idli, and dhokla. The algae agar is used as a thickener in soups, jellies, ice cream, and fruit jams. Do you know the flour dough rises when yeast is added to it? Yeast powder is added to flour to make dough for bread, pastries, cakes, etc., and it is left to stand for 2 hours. You observe that after 2 hours the dough rises. This is because yeast undergoes rapid reproduction to produce alcohol and carbon dioxide. As the dough is heated, the bubbles of gas become bigger and the dough rises. Commercial use in industries. Yeast is used commercially in the industries to produce alcohol, wine, and beer through a process called fermentation. In this process, sugar is converted into alcohol. During this process, yeast is grown on natural sugars present in grains like barley, wheat, rice, crushed fruit juices, etc. It reproduces rapidly and produces alcohol and carbon dioxide. Certain bacteria are used in the industries to make vinegar, coffee, and tobacco. Agricultural use, increasing soil fertility. Some bacteria like rhizobium and blue-green algae are called nitrogen-fixing bacteria, as they fix nitrogen from the atmosphere to enrich soil with nitrogen and increase its fertility. Environmental cleaners. Certain microorganisms like bacteria and fungi are used commercially to produce antibiotics. Medicinal use of microorganisms. Certain microorganisms like bacteria and fungi are used commercially to produce antibiotics. Some such antibiotics prepared from fungi and bacteria are streptomycin, tetracycline, and erythromycin. Hey, do you know what are vaccines? Have you ever wondered why children and infants are given vaccination? Let's find out. A vaccine is used to enhance or induce immunity to a particular disease. It usually contains the dead or weakened the disease-causing microorganism. When such a vaccine is introduced inside our body's immune system recognizes the vaccine as an invader and destroys it. It also preserves a memory of it so that if it encounters it again, it can easily recognize and destroy it in later encounters. Vaccines have been used to eradicate smallpox completely, have greatly diminished the occurrence of many other diseases. There are several types of vaccines and they are generally made from dead or inactivated organisms, or bacteria or viruses, or from their chemical constituents. Some vaccines contain microorganisms that have been destroyed with chemicals or heat. Examples include hepatitis A, influenza, cholera, bubonic plague, polio, tuberculosis, smallpox, and rabies. Example, polio drops vaccine. Do you know who discovered the vaccine for smallpox? Edward Jenner discovered the vaccine for smallpox in 1798. Now let's find out about the harmful microorganisms and the harm they do to plants, animals, and humans. Harmful microorganisms. Microorganisms are harmful in many ways. Some of the microorganisms cause diseases in human beings, plants, and animals. Such disease-causing microorganisms are called pathogens. Pathogens enter our body through the air we breathe, the water we drink, or the food we eat. They can also get transmitted by direct contact with an infected person or carried through an animal. Microbial diseases that can spread from an infected person to a healthy person through air, water, food, or physical contact are called communicable diseases. Examples of such diseases include cholera, common cold, polio, and tuberculosis. There are some insects and animals which act as carriers of disease-causing microbes. Example: Female Anopheles mosquito, which carries the parasite of malaria. Female Aedes mosquito carries the dengue virus. Housefly carries bacteria which can cause serious diseases like typhoid, cholera, dysentery, etc. Do you know? Uncovered food can make us sick. Uncovered food attracts a lot of flies, and these flies transfer the disease-causing germs into the uncovered food, which when eaten by us makes us sick. When the flies sit on the garbage and animal excreta, pathogens stick to their bodies. When these flies sit on uncovered food, they may transfer the pathogens. Whoever eats the contaminated food is likely to get sick. So, it is advisable to always keep food covered. Let's learn about some common human diseases caused by microorganisms. Some common human diseases caused by microorganisms are given in the table. Microbes cause diseases in animals and plants too. Let's find out more. Disease-causing microorganisms in animals. Certain disease-causing microorganisms cause diseases in animals. For example, anthrax is a dangerous human and cattle disease caused by a bacterium. Foot and mouth disease of cattle is caused by a virus. Do you know who discovered the bacteria that causes the anthrax disease? Robert Koch in 1876 discovered the bacterium Bacillus anthracis, which causes anthrax disease. Disease-causing microorganisms in plants. Several microorganisms cause diseases in plants like wheat, rice, potato, sugarcane, orange, apple, and others. These diseases reduce the yield of crops. They can be controlled by the use of certain chemicals which kill the microbes. See the table below for some such plant diseases. Some common plant diseases caused by microorganisms are as follows. Hey, I went to a birthday party yesterday and had a big burger, and since then I'm having a terrible stomachache and feeling of nausea. I think I have been attacked by some microbes. Microbes can also cause food poisoning in humans. Let's find out more. Food poisoning. Contaminated and stale food can cause food poisoning. Microorganisms grow on our food sometimes and produce toxic substances. This causes the food to get spoiled. This can in turn lead to food poisoning. These poisonous foods can cause some serious illness and even death, so it is very important that we preserve food to prevent it from being spoiled. Harmful bacteria in the burger has attacked me. To prevent and control food from spoiling, it is very important to store food at a proper temperature and in hygienic conditions. There are many other ways too to control food quality. Let's find out. Food preservation. Food preservation is the process of treating and handling food to stop or slow down spoilage, that is, loss of quality, edibility, or nutritional value. Microorganisms spoil our food. Spoiled food emits bad smell and has a bad taste and changed color. For example, when bread is left unused for a long time under moist conditions, it is attacked by fungus. Food, if preserved properly, will stay fresh for long and will not get spoiled easily. Methods of food preservation. Let us study the common methods of food preservation. Chemical method. Certain chemicals known as preservatives are used to control and check the growth of microorganisms in food. These preservatives, when added in the food, do not allow the food to get spoiled. Some of the commonly used methods of preservation of food are preservation with chemicals. Sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfite are also some common preservatives used in industries to preserve food like jams and squashes. Preservation by common salt. We add salt or acid preservatives to pickles to prevent the attack of microbes. Common salt is also used to preserve meat and fish. Meat and fish are covered with dry salt to check the growth of bacteria. Salting is also used to preserve amla, raw mangoes, tamarind, etc. Preservation is used to preserve jams, jellies, and squashes by reducing the moisture content in the food and thereby stopping the growth of bacteria in food. Preservation by oil and vinegar. Oil and vinegar are used to preserve pickles because bacteria cannot live in oil and vinegar. Vegetables, fruits, fish, and meat are often preserved by this method. Heat and cold treatments. Extremely low and extremely high temperatures inhibit the growth and multiplication of certain microorganisms. Certain microorganisms get killed due to boiling. This can be seen in the process of pasteurization. During this process, the milk is heated to about 70 degrees Celsius for 15 to 30 seconds and then suddenly chilled and stored. By doing so, it prevents the growth of microbes. As pasteurized milk is free from harmful microbes, we can drink it without boiling. This process of pasteurization was discovered by Louis Pasteur. Storage and packing. Proper storage and packing of food items in sealed airtight packets helps prevent the attack of microorganisms on them. For example, dry fruits, vegetables, fruits, etc. are sold in sealed airtight packets to prevent the attack of microbes. The wonderful microbes help in maintaining level of the atmospheric nitrogen through a cycle called the nitrogen cycle. Let's find out more about the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen is one of the essential constituents of all living organisms as part of proteins, chlorophyll, nucleic acids, and vitamins. Our atmosphere is made up of 78% nitrogen gas. The nitrogen present in the atmosphere cannot be taken in directly by plants and animals. As nitrogen in its gaseous form is almost entirely unusable to life forms, it must first be converted or fixed into a more usable form. The process of converting nitrogen is called fixation. Certain nitrogen-fixing bacteria and blue-green algae found in the soils fix nitrogen from the atmosphere and convert into compounds of nitrogen, that is, nitrates, nitrites, and ammonia. These substances can be used by plants for synthesis of plant proteins. As the plants become food, the nitrogen can be used by animals. When plants and animals die, bacteria and fungi present in the soil convert the nitrogenous waste into nitrogenous compounds to be used by plants again. Certain other bacteria convert some part of them to nitrogen gas, which goes back into the atmosphere. The process of nitrogen being fixed, used by plants and animals and later returned to the atmosphere is referred to as the nitrogen cycle. The percentage of nitrogen in the atmosphere remains more or less constant. This cycle is called the nitrogen cycle.